And with that, the 2024 camera gear season comes to an end. My name is Matt.
And I'm also Matt, and there has been a bunch of releases from all the brands, and we're going to sit here and talk about pretty much all of them and all the lenses that have come out this year. And there's been a bunch, right, Matt?
There's been a lot. I've got a little spreadsheet in front of me because there's no way I'm going to remember it all, but I'm going to do my best.
But stick around with us because we're going to talk in detail about what's our favorites been from each brand and all the exciting stuff that's come out in 2024. So do you want to start off?
I do, because fresh on my mind, we just covered it a couple of weeks ago, or it was a few weeks ago. The Sony A1 Mark II.
Yeah,
incredible camera.
Yeah, you shot with it a lot, didn't you?
Yeah, I did a little bit of video and photo. Perfect hybrid camera, and a lot of improvements from the Sony A1 Mark I, which I also was already a big fan of.
Yeah.
They've added an active dynamic stabilization feature, which they've already had like half that, but now they've taken it to another level, and this thing is so incredibly stable.
It seems like they've just essentially taken the A1 and everything that people said, oh, I wish it had this, they've just added it.
Right.
And then some, like, you've got the flip out screen from like the R5, the same body as the A9 III, which is the best feeling camera that Sony have ever released, I feel like. What else have they got? They got the auto AI thing, so you don't have to switch in the field. Did you use that at all when you were shooting?
I did use it. I use it a lot, and it's one of those things where I don't think I'm going to be able to go back. Just the addition of an AI processor engine in this camera in general, like, you could tell it's just a huge difference in the autofocus capabilities, and that's one of the major differences. It is the same sensor, but with that new processing engine, I think it takes it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, it's hard to top from that. I don't see where they go next and what they can do. Maybe a global shooter in there, I don't know. But
yeah, and I think that they had a lot, like, they coming off of last year with the A9 III, there was clearly a big, I don't know, they had to fill those shoes because everyone was so hyped about the A9 III, and they were like, how are we going to deliver? And everyone, loves the first A1 that they had to make sure that they hammered all of those desires home. I feel like Sony's actually really, really good at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only did they release the A1 II, they also released the 28-70 f2 zoom. Now, I shot with this for about a week or so. It's one of the best zoom lenses I've ever used. Like, that focal range is fantastic, and it basically just changes your mind about, do I need primes for low light, or do I need the versatility of zoom? It's the best of both worlds. Would I have loved 24-70? Of course, but 28-70, you just back up if you need to get any more wider. If you're a video shooter and you're shooting weddings or something like that, you throw this on a gimbal, that is the only lens you'll need. And with the weight being at the back of the lens, it's so easy to balance on a gimbal. You put the zoom in the middle.
And you got to take it out to a concert too, right?
I did.
How was it in low light and that?
Oh, ridiculous. It was so good. I was always nervous because, like, usually I would shoot on a 1.4 prime. So, like, I was wondering how it was in low light because usually I shoot on 1.4 in low light situations and losing that extra shot of light. But cameras these days with, like, high ISOs and, like, the noise reduction that you have in Lightroom, it was perfect. And the results was so sharp, whether you're at 28 or 70, it's just fantastic. Like,
Canon had the 28-70 as well, and I'm loving these faster zoom lenses. We're fast shooters. We like to, we always are shooting on primes, whether we're in low light or just shooting with natural light and need more light. Who needs less light for the most part?
Yeah.
Unless you're doing, like, long exposure photography. But I hope we see more of faster zoom lenses.
And speaking of fast lenses that Sony have released, the 85 1.4 Mark II, how does that compare to the first generation?
It's really, really nice. It resolves images beautifully. It's super fast. The original one was as well, but the autofocus is to the next level on this new one as well. And it's so light, which I think takes things to a whole nother level. Maria on our team got to shoot a lot with it. So yeah.
It makes a difference. Like, each gram, especially when we're on these shoots and we're carrying it around, like, having lighter lenses is a game changer because I'm not getting any younger. My back's already ruined.
You're telling me. And that's why I think these two new G lenses from Sony are so appealing.
Love that segue. Yeah, the 24-50 and the 16-25 2.8. These are fantastic. I love the 24-50 especially. Like a street photography lens, like pair that with an A7C too. That's all you need, and it's literally you can fit it in a pocket, but it's still a G-line lens, so that, like optically it's fantastic. Like those lenses, and then pair that. I can't do a segue as good as you, but the ZV-E10 Mark II. Now this is more creator driven, we would say, but it has the same sensor as the FX30 and the A6700 for not a fraction of the price, I would say. So again, Sony last year they seem to have done a load of releases on the creator side in the ZV line, so this is just adding to an already fantastic line.
Everything I've seen out of it looks really attractive. The fact that it has that sensor in such a small form factor and the ease of use makes it really appealing for those kind of just getting into interchangeable.
And they need to change the ZV-10 when you float it, you turn it vertically, the menu turns vertically, and I don't understand why that isn't on every single camera that exists. It should just naturally be, rather than trying to look at your settings like that. That's my favorite feature out of the ZV-10.
Are you gonna switch?
Not yet. Okay. And maybe a good B cam. But on the complete other end of the spectrum,
he's gonna make the jump.
I'm gonna make the jump.
Sony Burano.
The Sony Burano. Now this was interesting because I got half a day with it, and it was amazing to shoot with. But trying to get test footage and shooting this vertically, I knew in the comments that I would get hated on for using a cinema camera.
Anamorphic too?
I didn't do vertical anamorphic, that would be ridiculous. But I was in the streets of New York filming vertically with the Sony Burano, which is sacrilege, I know. But the versatility of like the image that you get, like it's just a joke, and it's so nice. And it's a heavy camera, a lot heavier than my A7S III.
What are some of the specs on that?
That's a great question. So it's 16 stops of dynamic range, shoots 8.6K. Wow. So when I was shooting these TikToks and Instagram Reels, 1080p, I had like 10 shots in one clip. It was fantastic.
Save money, buy a Sony Burano.
Exactly. Don't buy 10 lenses, just buy one Sony cinema camera. And it had an electronic ND, which is the best thing in the world. You can set it to auto, so then you literally like turn, something's bright, it changes it gradually for you as well. So again, it's just another thing, and it has IBIS, which is crazy for the size of camera it is. But having those features in like the electronic ND, it just allows it to be, if you're like a run and gun documentary film, a high-end documentary film, it's an expensive camera, but having that where you can just essentially concentrate on your frame and the camera's doing so much work for you, it's a phenomenal camera. Will I be switching? Will I be swapping unless someone buys me one? No, but it's
the holiday season.
It's the holiday season. If anyone wants to buy me a Sony Burano, please do.
So clearly they've covered a whole range of the spectrum when it comes to, beginner people that are just switching maybe from their phone to an actual interchangeable lens camera, and then all the way up to on set with a Sony Burano. Yeah. So they've covered the whole gamut. Yeah,
they really nailed it this year in terms of, like you said, covering everyone. Everyone's happy from that.
And even on the lens side too, not just the cameras. But.
Yeah, exactly. Those G lenses, probably some of my favorite lenses this year.
But they weren't the only ones that released the flagship this year.
No, they weren't.
Because Canon had a ton of drops as well, including the Canon R1, which is one that I actually got to shoot with.
You did?
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, the EVF on that is just incredible. And you can see why this is Canon's flagship. The autofocus is incredibly fast. The image quality is also incredible at 24 megapixels and 40 frames per second. You can photograph so many different things when it comes to wildlife, landscape, sports. It's definitely catered more towards high-end like sports photography, maybe even weddings as well. Everything kind of in that niche.
Yeah. But for those portrait photographers or people that need more resolution, they also brought out the R5 Mark II, or your hybrid shooters as well, because that's more video leaning. That is, I've heard people say that's one of the most perfect cameras. It shoots 8K 60 RAW in a mirrorless body. It's crazy. 45 megapixels, and I believe it's also got the EVF from the R3, with the eye control as well. So we're seeing them of their like more advanced things from previous cameras coming into the R5 to make it even better. And especially with the R1, that viewfinder is better than my eyesight. I mean, it's not hard, my eyesight's pretty bad, but it is definitely like seeing that in a camera is really impressive to see. But also, speaking of sports, this is a weird segue, I admit, but the 70-200 from Canon, talk to me about that.
It's really nice. It's a solid improvement from the Mark I version. It has the same body as the 24-105. So if you're switching between the two, it makes it that much easier, especially if you're running this setup on a gimbal.
Yep.
You can get it in a black or white option.
Which one would you get?
I would go with black.
Really? Because
if I'm photographing like wildlife of any sort, maybe they would prefer the black one. I don't know.
What, the animal? So no, you've got a black lens. I'm not going to pose for you.
I think black is, well, it depends. Are we in a snow scene in Yellowstone? Because then I would prefer the white lens.
I just think, I agree, but then the 70-200 to me has always been a white lens. Yeah. And I would always, and the 24-105 only comes in black. So then if you've got both, then you can easily differentiate between the two.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. And then if you're in the wildlife, you're going to put you're a camo guy on your lenses, so you would throw that on there.
Well, I just don't want to be seen. I don't want my lens to be seen.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think going back to the internal zoom, they really listened to what people wanted, because the external zoom one was great for carrying it around, but I think the throw being a bit longer and it changing the balance of the lens might have slowed people down in the field just like ever so slightly. So going back to the internal zoom, I think, is what all Canon shooters that I've spoken to prefer an internal zoom for a 70-200. So it's just a solid lens, and you've got the power zoom adapter thing that you can on, so it's great for video as well. Yeah. You had to use that though, but I really want to try that out, the power zoom thing.
Well, maybe 2025 will be.
Someone buy me a power zoom adapter from Canon. It is the holiday season.
We're making a lot of asks in this video.
Burano and Canon lenses. Speaking of Canon lenses, the 1.4 primes, this has been the year for small 1.4 primes. So we've got the 24, 30, originally the 35 came out, and then it was followed by the 24 and 50. They are all the same size, and they're fantastic. They all have voice coil motors, and basically this is just a way, and they have the nano USM motors as well. So basically this is just like the best autofocus for hybrid shooters you can possibly imagine. So it is weird because when you hold it in your hand and it's off a camera and you turn it, you can feel the elements shifting. Everyone's like, the lens is broken. It's not broken, don't worry. As soon as you put it on a camera and you turn it on, they are like, it's held by magnets, so they're just floating in the lens, and it makes for really smooth transitions between subject focusing, and they're so quick and it's just so sharp. And it's also the way they've done it about keeping the size down is they've relied more on, so when you taking photos, for example, they've relied more on the metadata. So when you put it in Lightroom, Capture One, your editing choice of software, if you click the lens profile, then that fixes it in there. You should be doing that for all lenses, I think we agree. When we're taking photos, enable lens profile correction, but this is just a way, Canon are just sort of relying on that technology more to make these small and more uniform, which I think is great, personally.
Right. So who do you think that these three lenses are more catered to, even though they're at different focal lengths?
I would say definitely hybrid shooters that are wanting prime quality, but they're run and gun, because again, like we were saying, these light primes are really important. If you're out and about, you've got a massive bag on all day, having small primes at that quality, I know these 1.2 primes are fantastic, but they are heavy. So having a 1.4 version, which are all uniform in size, if you're on a gimbal, for example, it'll take minor adjustments if you're swapping lenses. So these are great. It's a great set of lenses and a great option for Canon shooters.
What about their 20-70 2.8 that they dropped this year as well?
Again, this is great for people that I think want a 2.8 zoom that don't want to drop an L lens price. Yeah. It's like you're going from, you want to get that 2.8 versatility. And 28-70, a great zoom lens. We discussed this with the Sony, but this is a fantastic price point. I think someone that's just starting out and like just started to make a bit of money maybe, or someone's going, I'm gonna go crazy, get a 28 to 70 f2.8. You really can't argue with that f-stop and focal range.
All right, but jumping into their cinema cameras, because clearly they were catering a lot to the cinema crowd with the C400 and the C80.
Yeah, both have, this was crazy. So the C400 came out and it was like the successor to the C500 Mark III. 6K full frame camera with their first triple base ISO, 800, 3200, 12,800. I think that's the first cinema camera to have triple base, and just having it more of a boxy style of camera, so it's more modular, people can build it out. You've got NDs in there. It really is one of the most perfect cinema cameras. But then they were like, you like that? Hold my beer, here's a C80. And we were, out of nowhere that came. I feel like I think there'd been rumors of like the C70 Mark II, but a C80 is a full frame camera in the body of a C70 with the sensor of the C400. So if you're like a run and gun filmmaker, or you're looking to get into cinema cameras are expensive. So you like, and the C80 isn't cheap, but for what it is, it is. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. So what do you think? Did Canon, did they cater to everybody? Were they? I
think they definitely like the higher end of their range. The R50 and R100 came out last year, so this year they're like, we need to update our higher end stuff, and I think they've knocked it out of the park. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. But also, since we're talking about cinema cameras here, I want to jump to a major release this year from RED.
Okay.
Raptor VVX.
And why is that a big release? Because we shot on this.
We got to shoot on it. It was an amazing experience.
Bucket list experience, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such an incredible camera for so many reasons, but 8K 120.
8K 120.
Come on now, that is wild.
I would say right now overkill, but the option to have it is ridiculous.
You've never been in a scenario where you're like, hey, I wish
it was not only 120 frames, I wish it was 8K all the time, because you can crop in, like I said before, the Burano. 8K is, we need to start shooting everything on 8K. We should
be shooting this video on 8K.
Yeah. No, that was a fantastic camera. That's an understatement.
The dynamic range that you get out of that camera is and the colors of these RED cameras is something that always appeals to cinema shooters that are always coming back to RED time and time again. And I think that this camera over-delivered in every way.
Yeah, but that wasn't the most surprising thing from RED this year, was it?
You're gonna say it, are you?
I was. We got Nikon buying RED before GTA 6, and that is ridiculous. But it came out of nowhere as well. I remember I got a message on Slack at 8:30 in the morning saying, "Can you go to the store? Nikon bought RED." I was like, "Sure." I mean,
it's funny, in the camera world, Nikon buying RED. This is I don't even know it's just one of the most crazy news.
It was insane, and I sent it to my friends. I was like, "This is great," and they're like, "We don't care." And I was like, "No, you don't understand. My friends don't shoot photography and stuff like that." So they're like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "This was massive." And then that leads us to kind of see what Nikon does with that RED technology. Are they going to incorporate it into their mirrorless lines, or is it going to stay a separate entity? I don't know. I would hope that, and we have been seeing the Z6 III that came out this year.
Yeah.
The video capabilities in such a small mirrorless camera. It's 6K 60 NRAW, 240 frames per second at 1080.
Yeah.
Question for you. 1080, 240 frames per second in 2024 or 2025. Do you use it, or do you wait for a camera that has 240 4K?
Me personally, I would probably wait.
Yeah.
Because I love 4K so much. The jump to that was pretty extreme.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I know there are plenty that would disagree, but that's just my opinion. And I I would love to shoot 8K 120 in general. So
8K 120, yeah. Like, so 240, 1080. You're just
right. It's like I'm here, 8K 120.
Yeah,
and
I 240.
Not you.
Yeah.
I mean, why are you a 240 1080 guy?
240 1080. Like, I think if you use it sparingly,
yeah,
and you could hide it in there, no one would know.
What would you use this for?
So, say you're doing like you're in the desert, you're driving around, wheel spinning in sand, getting that in 240.
Or like you pick the sand up and it's like coming down from your hand, in like a cinematic.
Or
fashion.
like hand in a cornfield, gladiator style, like that. That's
you've changed my mind on this.
Yeah, now. 240, 1080p.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not only. So you've got the Z6 III, full frame, phenomenal camera, but Nikon have also gone, hey, someone that's looking to maybe not spend thousands of dollars, under $1,000, the Z50 Mark II. This is APS-C camera, 20 megapixels, but it shoots 4K 60 10-bit video.
It's impressive.
It's for under $1,000.
Right.
When I bought my first camera, it was like $1,500. I can't remember what it was. I bought it in pounds. I'm English. Shock.
What?
I know. But I bought it in England, and it had 24 frames per second, 8-bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Now under $1,000, you're getting 4K 60 10-bit. That's pretty wild.
It's an amazing time to be getting into this space.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
There's so many options that are just like off the charts.
Yeah.
Like the Z50.
The Z50, and great segue from me. I'm happy with this one. The 35 and 50 1.4 from Nikon's a really good value, like shockingly good value. I think around like under $1,000 again, which is an amazing price point to have a 1.4 prime, because most brands have a 1.8 50, for example.
Yeah.
That was my first lens that I bought. It was like 100.
Me too.
See, look at us.
It's a good first lens for sure. But if I could have a 1.4 first lens, well,
forget it. I would I'd won an Oscar by now with that one, that 51.4.
I don't know about that.
Oh my God. That's so rude. All right, moving on. Okay, I've got to ask you this though, because I think we did touch on it, but
I'm just kidding. You
no. What, the bridge has been burned. Nikon and RED 2025. Do you think we'll get RED Z mount cameras, or do you think we'll get RED video codecs in Nikon bodies?
Oh, those are two really good questions. I don't know that we'll get both, but yeah, I think that we'll probably. I think we're more likely to get the video codecs. I would love
a Nikon Z mount one, because then I can use the Plena on a RED, and the Noct, a 0.95 aperture, because 1.2 is not enough apparently. 0.95 on a RED.
That's shallow.
Yeah.
That's some shallow depth of field there.
That would be like, I don't even know what would be in focus. Nothing.
Yeah.
But everything at the same time.
Let's talk about Fujifilm, because clearly they went ham this year with the creators. Like,
yes.
That in mind, everyone, they're all over TikTok. Every Instagram reel, I'm serious.
Yeah, no.
All of my Instagram reels are people on the X100VI.
The X100VI. For me, it's the most fun I've had with the camera. Second most fun I've had with the camera this year.
Wow.
Because it is. The first one we'll get to, but it's because when I took it out, I got to have it for a couple of weeks. It was fantastic. It's the camera that you can get amazing quality with, but it doesn't intimidate people. So you get really good, like candid photos of your friends who might not be comfortable in front of a camera.
Yeah.
Because if I'm bringing out a 7200 and a mirrorless camera, people freeze up.
Right.
You've got an X100VI, you go, oh, it looks like nothing, but you get 40 megapixels.
It's like in such a small form factor.
Oh, it's
the
amazing.
fact that they've packed all of this tech into one, like, tiny camera.
6K video in it.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Our team actually got to take it out to Japan as well.
It's crazy.
For the launch, and the footage from that was also.
Yeah.
It's the perfect travel camera.
It really, especially if you have the teleconverter thing with the new one. You have the option to be digitally zoomed, but those teleconverters, they like screw onto the end. Fantastic. But also they came out with the XT50 and the XM5, and these are even more sort of creator beginner cameras. If you want to step up from your phone, we've got the simulated dial to make it easier to navigate through the system. Because what I love about Fujifilm cameras, you can customize it so much. It can be, if you've ever taken a Fujifilm camera off someone and they've dialed it into them, it could be completely different to someone else's. So having simplified options like the dial and a vlog mode, if you're shooting vlog on the XM5, they've thought about people that are just coming up from the iPhone and how to make it the most user-friendly way possible. And it's a great camera. But on the complete other end of Fujifilm, you've got the GFX 100S Mark II. Now
you got to take that up to Catskills, New York for the launch. How was that?
So good. I will talk about my favorite thing by far. The image stabilization on this is insane. It's 102 megapixels, which is already crazy. I was shooting at 1/3 of a second handheld. And if you know me, and you do,
I'm gonna tell you right now, he's shooting handheld long exposures.
If I'm shooting at 1/3 of a second, you can shoot at 5 seconds to get a steady shot, because I have got the shakiest hands going. And also like the image quality from a medium format Fujifilm camera, it's ridiculous. It's so good. There's just something different about medium format cameras that you slow down because it's not like a run and gun shot. It's like you purposely take the picture. There's so much detail and information. It's just fantastic. That is a great camera, and it's the same size as some mirrorless cameras. It's flawless.
And they dropped a 500mm as well this
They
year.
dropped a 500 medium format and the APS-C one for the X line, which is like a 762 millimeter equivalent. It's like the compression on that 700 millimeters equivalent full frame. Like if you're looking to get into wildlife and you're on a Fuji system, the price point that comes at, that's insane. Like the full frame equivalent of that would be 5-6 times the price.
Right.
It's a really good lens.
It's a smaller form factor too in general.
So yeah, you can handhold it. It's so good. I was really hyped on that lens.
And they also had the 16-55 Mark II.
Again, a fantastic lens, a 24-70 equivalent, 2.8, weather resistant. This is like, if you're a Fujifilm shooter, that's the lens to get for your one and done lens. It's so small. It's a third lighter than the Mark I, but the optical quality is unbelievable. Right. I love that lens.
So what do you think? Did Fujifilm do a good job at like catering to pretty much everybody?
I think, yeah.
Clearly the creators especially, but I think everyone
in Fuji definitely benefited from something. There was something for every Fujifilm shooter to get excited about this year. I think they did really well in lenses and cameras.
Yeah. But jumping into kind of something that was in the talks for a while.
Yeah.
But it was very hyped up. Mm-hmm. The Kodak Super8.
Yeah.
This was probably one of the most interesting announcements of the year, and I think everyone was really excited.
This was our most watched reel of the year. I think it got over 2 million views or something like that, our reel on it. The idea is great, and I think the main purpose of it would be for rental houses to buy for people to rent out. Right. For like if someone's shooting a wedding and they want that nostalgic Super 8 footage, it's great to have. I don't think someone's going to buy it and replace their video camera. I don't see that happening just because of how expensive it is to process films and stuff like that.
But I mean, I would love to shoot on it at some point.
Same.
The footage looked really cool, and I think it's definitely the fact that you can live view what you're filming on a Super 8 camera.
Yeah, so it takes a little bit of the guesswork. I would be terrified if someone shoots this at a wedding and that's the only thing they use. They're insane. Right. Because not being able to see what you have to me is terrifying. I don't know how people did it before digital thing. I couldn't. I wonder the same because I have like this old Super 8 that was passed down from my grandfather, and the light meter's broke on it, and I have like no idea. I'm like, do I want to spend all the money on film and then to get it processed? I don't even know if all just completely overexposed. Yeah. Who knows? Yeah. Like you were saying, it's a big drop, and you knew it was going to happen for a while, but film's really seen a resurgence this year. I'd say over the past 18 to 2 years, but what's been your favorite film camera this year that's come out? the Pentax.
It's not really my favorite though. Should I just say this? Or?
There's only one film camera that's come out. It's the only one.
Oh,
it's the only one. It's a half-frame film camera. Instead of having 36 shots on a 35mm roll of film, it cuts it in half, so you get 72. Right. So you've got more frames, and the viewfinder is vertical, which I find kind of trippy, but it's.
So what is the actual ratio at the end of it?
9:16. So I think for you social media fanatics out there, 9:16. But for people that are like shooting film, I think it's a great little fun addition to have in your kit.
It seems like it's like the perfect film camera for the modern age, especially with that sort of aspect ratio that you're processing it at.
Yeah, because you can still get landscape shots, you just have to turn it vertically.
Which is like reverse logic on most cameras.
Yeah.
But speaking of none of that, Leica came out with so much this year, and we actually got to go out to Germany.
You did. I was very jealous of this for you because that looked like a lot of fun.
It was so much fun.
Where did you go?
Back in February. So
where?
Oh, Wetzlar, Germany.
Yeah,
that's where we went. I don't speak any German. I did my best, and it wasn't great in terms of me trying to get a taxi, but we made, I'm serious. We made our way around and we survived mostly.
Yeah.
But the Leica SL3 that came out, this was such, gosh, Leicas are so beautiful. But this like the SL3 it delivers.
Yeah, I know.
Like, it's such a good camera in general, and I believe it's one of the first full frame IP67 rated.
It's waterproof.
It's like near, almost.
Wow.
I don't want to say it's waterproof. Disclosure, I didn't say that, but like it's good. That's because it's just such a solid piece camera that that's why it has such good.
60 megapixels?
60 megapixels. The video specs are also incredible on that camera, and we got to shoot with it around Wetzlar, Germany. What more can you really ask?
In the Leica factory, right?
Yeah, we got to go around the Leica factory. We saw that they were hand making everything. It's just
so cool.
It is.
We nerded out the whole time.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's crazy. I didn't get to shoot with that. Very jealous of your trip to Germany. But what I did shoot with, and what I was very excited about, was the Q3-43. Now I love the Q3, the Q2, all the Q series cameras. It's like the point and shoot. 60 megapixels, and this one was at 40. It had a fixed lens of 43 millimeters, which I think the Q3 is 28. So this is just a little bit more punched in, and to me, 43, I learned this when I was doing video on this, 43 is apparently the closest focal length to the human eye. So if you're taking a picture, it's how you saw it.
I believe
that's what they're going for there. And again, like it just looks so nice.
Yeah.
Like just walking around, and then the best thing for me is when you turn it from autofocus to manual focus, there's a switch, and then like it just changes, like, so you can see the focus like limiter, like you know what I mean? Yeah, it's such a nice camera, and you can digitally zoom into like 150 millimeters. So like, it's such a versatile point and shoot. Yes, it's expensive. It's not for everyone, but I would buy one if money was no object. Q3-43 added to the list. Fun fact, actually, I learned a German word this year. The bottom of a drink, Spuckstock.
What was that?
Spuckstock. I knew that this year. That's actually true.
We can cut that, right?
Yeah, but I just wanted to throw that out there because it just reminded me because I'm finishing my drink. But on the other end of the spectrum of a Q3-43, you have the Deluxe 8, which is again a point and shoot, but it's on the budget end of Leica's range. Again, a really fun camera.
Yeah. Having
a point and shoot in your pocket. It seems to be all brands are doing point and shoots and really leaning into that because more people just want something fun in their pocket, just to capture the moment, and want more than their phone.
Yeah, I feel like that camera is really the perfect gateway into getting into the whole Leica ecosystem, which
I feel like once you're in, you're never leaving.
Yeah. It's a rabbit hole for sure. And then you end up in Germany at Wetzlar factory.
That's it.
Forget about it.
Keep going. So yeah, so they've gone from like the SL3, the Q3-43, all the way down to the Deluxe 8. They also released the M11D, which is a digital camera without a screen. So it's the M11, but no screen. So it's a digital camera that feels like a film camera. You've got the experience of shooting film, and it's really making you dial in your settings on the camera. And then you have the excitement of seeing it for the first time when you're back, like you're getting the scans back, but you get a cool camera, very niche camera, but an awesome release as well.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, the industry needs those sort of fun, exciting ways to like have a camera that serves pretty much everybody.
Yeah. Speaking of fun cameras, it's the CFV 100C with the 907X body from Hasselblad.
Yeah.
This is the 100 megapixel digital back with a very thin body. It's essentially like the modular bit of the back of Hasselblad's that you can put onto old film bodies. This is my favorite camera that's ever been released. Like, I made a video about it in January saying it's gonna be my favorite. It was my favorite camera of 2024. And I said it's January, so I could get away with saying that. It's now December, still is.
I think it is one of the most fascinating, it's to
hold, to shoot with. It's designed so, and it has a terabyte of internal storage. Like, come on.
I need like every camera manufacturer to do that.
They really need to do that. But like, putting it on an old Hasselblad film thing and having the shutter sound of an old
Hasselblad. Really nice. Really, really nice.
That, and then the wind, come on. And then you've got a terabyte, you can do that forever. That's like, that would be the camera I would have forever. If someone's like, you can take one camera and that's it, that would be it.
Wow.
That would be it.
That is a testament.
I would sell all of my cameras to have that camera. I would, like, if someone was like,
you could do that.
I could do that, but I won't. That's a stupid thing for me to say, because then I wouldn't be able to do certain things. But if someone was like, you can have one camera for the rest of your life, it would be that.
Wow. I don't know how I would answer that question. But the colors, I will say too, out of the Hasselblad.
16-bit.
Yeah, no, they were beautiful. Hasselblad color science.
Oh my goodness, so good. And it's medium format, 100 megapixels. It's the best thing in the world. So they also had a 75mm 3.4 lens and a zoom lens, I believe.
Is it 20 to 35mm 3.5 to 4.5?
Nice. So again, just adding to their lens lineup. So you've got Hasselblad shoes have got more options. And I was actually talking about this the other day. I was like, why don't they do like a 1.4 or something like that? And then it'd be huge.
Yeah.
It would be massive. So I feel like
it'd be cool.
Oh, it'd be amazing.
I would love to see it.
But I don't know if it can, because it physically would probably take up this room. But yeah, I would love to see that.
So what do you think? Did Hasselblad cater to everybody?
I don't think they did. But
jumping into Lumix though, because they came out with the GH7.
Yeah.
Really an amazing video camera, and a new like top adapter for audio control.
Yeah, which was huge because
32-bit float.
Internally,
which we probably could have used for this video since we're screaming back and forth in there.
But yeah, that's really, and it's also cool to see that the Micro Four Thirds system, they haven't given up on it. It's not dead. Like, it's really people love this camera, and the quality, the stabilization, because it's such a small sensor.
I guess whatever they have as their in-body stabilization, they could fit like so much mechanics in there, I guess.
Yeah.
And I just remember using this and shooting with it earlier this year for when it came out, and it's so still. Like when you're shooting video footage with it, it's incredibly still, and you could shoot 5.7K at 60 frames per second, and ProRes RAW, which is like, I mean, in that small of a body and at that price point, I think is really impressive.
Yeah, and the S9 is like you shot with this recently, right? So it's like a really compact full frame camera, perfect for like street travel photography.
Yeah, this is like, we were shooting with it in Williamsburg.
Nope, Dumbo.
It's the same spot. Brooklyn's like the same, so. Where are we now? Greenpoint?
Greenpoint.
Okay, see, I know.
The other end.
It's really a fantastic travel camera because it does 24 megapixel photos. It's got film simulations in it.
That's cool.
6K 30, and it's so compact, and it comes in like really unique colorways.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, it'd be kind of fun if more manufacturers involved that sort of unique way. I think that's sort of what we're lacking in today's day and age. Remember when we could like set your own ringtone or like have your, I'm serious, like have like a colored back.
Yeah, you were definitely a crazy frog kind of guy, weren't you, when it came out?
I think I had Empire State of Mind as my ringtone for like a good portion of my life.
But you just got Williamsburg and Dumbo mixed up. But
the same things.
Yeah.
New York City.
But yeah, no, in talking of the color, I really enjoyed the green one. Like the green one was really nice. So if we can get some green.
Dark olive.
Dark olive, yeah. Forest green, dark olive. It's a dark green.
So do you think that Lumix, Panasonic cater to kind of everybody?
Yeah, I mean, the GH7 is definitely like the GH line has been, especially with like YouTubers, like the GH5, GH6, but the GH7 actually has ARRI color profiles as well. So for like B cams and stuff like that in like higher end productions, it's amazing that you've got that in such an affordable body. And with 32-bit float as well, having that really needs to be like a standard, I feel like, going forward, because it's so important.
I agree, 100%. Yeah. But Blackmagic had some really magical announcements.
Yeah, nice. Good job. Yeah, they were just like, people said, we would like this in a camera and this in a camera. Could you? They just said yes to everything. So starters off, they had the Pixis.
Yeah.
6K. There we go.
Pixis 6K.
The Ursa 12K.
Ursa 12K. No.
And then they've announced their intentions of a 17K version of the Ursa, right?
That's exactly right. 65mm large format sensor.
70. I don't think I ever want to be shot in 17. No one needs to see that much detail of me in 17K.
I don't know, I think that the audience would appreciate that.
Hey, thanks, man.
Yeah.
But no, when we were at NAB, seeing the like the 6K and the 12K out on the stand, with some of the cinema lenses they had on there, these lenses were like this big. It was crazy. And Blackmagic always seems to come out with these amazing cinema cameras at really competitive price points as well, which is really refreshing to see that you can get such good cameras at more accessible price points.
Right. I think one of my first cameras, definitely my first cinema camera, was a Blackmagic cinema camera.
Yeah.
And I remember like at the time there was something where I couldn't film extremely bright light sources, like the sun would like show a black spot on it. So we've come a long way since then. But like the Pixis 6K is something that I'm sure we're gonna see on documentary filmmaking in a whole bunch of different sets. So I feel like that's a perfect way to get into cinema cameras.
Yeah, and then on the other end, 17K. Like I want to see what that can do. I hope we can get one when it comes out finally, so we can shoot more Instagram reels and TikToks on it in the streets of New York.
I think that's what the world needs.
And then anamorphic, so we'll get even more.
Right.
Hell yeah, it's gonna be so fun. Oh, and it's just recently been announced, speaking of shooting TikToks, the ARRI Alexa 265 has just been announced. Again, this is a large format 65mm camera, but it's tiny. Like the picture of it that they just announced, someone's literally holding it in their palm.
Wow.
An Alexa large format camera that you can fit in the size, like, should we just quit and like, that's it?
I don't know, I think that we shouldn't quit, but we should get one.
We should get one. More TikToks on cinema cameras.
Yeah,
I think that's the way to go.
Roger Deakins would be all over that.
Yeah.
Right? Right? Isn't he a big ARRI Alexa guy?
Oh, I thought you were going to say he's a big TikTok guy.
He's a big TikTok guy.
Big on TikTok, big following. So do you think Blackmagic, and we'll throw ARRI into there, but I know the answer to that. Do you think they have catered to all audiences in 2024?
I think that's pretty clear that they did.
Yeah.
Between a Pixis 6K that is coming under $3,000, that is a very powerful camera, all the way up to a large format 65mm sensor. I think everything's covered. ARRI, on the other hand, that's what a Paybu credit card's for.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of all the camera releases. It seems like we've been talking for years, but so exciting to see how much stuff has come out this year and literally for everyone. From you just start and you think my phone's nothing, to I want the best camera there is. There's something for everyone.
Absolutely, and there's lenses for everyone too that came out this year, like Sigma's huge lineup of lenses.
Oh, they released everything.
500mm 5.6 we actually got to use out in Iceland in our Iceland series out there, which was really cool.
We shot with a ton of lenses from Sigma. They brought the 28 to 105. We didn't, it hadn't come out yet, but the 24 to 70 Mark II. We shot, I'd say, probably like most of that series on that. The 51.2. Oh my goodness. My favorite one, which was the nichest lens that they released, was the 50mm 1.4 fisheye. But when we were in the ice caves in Iceland, Maria got some pictures of me that will flash up here. Very fun. Yeah. And I think it is such a niche lens, but I think more manufacturers need to do these niche lenses because it's so fun to like challenge yourself and use it. But what was your favorite lens in Iceland when we were there? Like, what was your favorite one that you used?
That's a tough question, but I just remembered also we took the 500mm to the Dominican Republic to photograph and film baseball as well. So it was like, that was another really cool scenario where I was using the 500 and you're getting a prime that's fast in, 5.6 is fast, especially at that focal length. And I was really impressed pairing that with the A9 III also while I was down there, which was really, really cool.
That's so fun.
And I feel like that is the perfect budget-friendly option for someone who's, maybe you're into sports, wildlife, in that arena. At under $3,000, I think that you're getting a fast telephoto prime lens, and it's perfect lens. Really. And
they also came with the 70-200 this year as well. Again, a more budget-friendly option if you can't afford like a first-party 2.8. They also came out with two massive lenses. So the 28 to 105 2.8, I would say my favorite lens that came out this year. It's just that focal range of that f-stop, fantastic. But also the 28 to 45 1.8 full frame zoom. Yeah, that is great. My favorite lens when I first started was the 18 to 35 1.8 for APS-C cameras, and this is the full frame big brother of that. And you shot with that.
Yeah, right? I remember the whole team was kind of fighting over it.
Oh my god, yeah.
It is a really good lens. It has so many different uses, especially for video. It was like to have basically multiple prime lenses in one zoom, as we're kind of seeing increasingly, even with the 28 to 105 as well. Yeah,
having a zoom at 1.8 is so nice.
Which one would you choose over the other? The 28 to 105 or?
The 28 to 105, just because it's so versatile. Like, we were shooting a bunch of different things and I didn't have to change lenses. But if I was shooting a concert again, the 28 to 45 would probably do it for me because of the 1.8. Like, you can't argue that in low light situations, but for your everyday use, the 28 to 105 is definitely up there for me. Go on. I'll go. They also, Sigma have also just started releasing RF mount for Canon users, which is exciting. Admittedly, APS-C lenses only at the moment, but I feel that that's a trend going forward that we'll hopefully see some full frame options. But for Canon shoots, I feel this is really exciting. Right?
They were ecstatic in the comments. In fact, I think that's on every Sigma video we do.
Yeah, for Canon RF question mark. Yeah. But yeah, having those options now for people on a budget, it's amazing because there's some really nice primes as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. So what do you think? Did Sigma nail it?
For everyone. Sigma have nailed it this year.
Yeah, they do a really good job, it seems like, every year, but this year they went extra hard, and I feel like there's kind of something for everybody here. And now Canon as well, RF mounts, so.
Usually like third-party brands will release their version of a first-party lens, but Sigma seem to be forcing the first-party brands to kind of up their game with a 28 to 45 1.8 zoom. Right. No other brand has that. And the quality out of these Sigma lenses are phenomenal.
Yeah, you could tell they're like listening to users and incorporating that feedback into their products. Tamron, we've got a Tamron video extraordinaire series coming soon that we're excited about.
Yeah, which you famously star in. And you used, we used Tamron lenses for all the result shots in that, right? So talk to me about using them and what was your favorite one?
The 50 to 400 we used quite a bit while there. This year, they actually came out with a 50-300 f4 to 6.3, and I used that a little bit with some wildlife, and I was really blown away with the results I was able to get with this lens, because it is so small. Like, this lens is really, really small. I'm not exaggerating when I say that. I'm serious. I can't stress enough how small it was, and I feel like it's the perfect lens if you're kind of just getting into wildlife. It's on the more affordable side. It's not the fastest thing in the world, and it is a variable aperture, but you're going to be able to walk away with some fantastic...
50 to 300 is a crazy focal range.
You could photograph so much.
Yeah, you could do so.
I'm serious. If, I don't know, hopefully a bear doesn't run close to you, but if it does, you can still capture 50. Now, hopefully that doesn't happen, disclaimer, but you'd get a good photo.
You would, at 50, that's nice.
Right. And then they also had a 90mm macro 2.8, and I really love like a good macro lens, and 90mm is like the perfect focal length for that.
And that seems to be kind of, that's similar to like the Sony 90mm macro, right? And speaking of, this is one of my better segues of the video, a few honorable mentions I will say for third-party brands that's kind of doing these first-party lenses at a really affordable price point. The Sirui? I forget how you pronounce it, Sirui. Right. The 85 1.4 for under $600 is genuinely unbelievable. Like the result shots that Maria got of you in just mind-blowing.
Yeah, the bokeh out of that lens was like some of the best bokeh that I've seen.
Yeah, and
wait, is it bokeh or bokeh or bokeh or bokeh?
It's definitely not the last one. I say bokeh, but I know it's wrong.
You say bokeh?
Yeah, but
I say that too. So
yeah,
let us know in the comments.
We're definitely
bokeh or is it bokeh?
Someone actually did a big comment in one of the videos explaining the origin of the word. So I think it's
the
bokeh.
Japanese origination, right?
Bokeh.
Okay.
I think.
Bokeh.
I can't remember. Anyway, but also a Viltrox 135 1.8 prime. Again, a really affordable lens.
Yeah.
A 135 1.8. I think all first-party brands have that version of a lens.
I believe so. I know Sony definitely has a 135.
Yeah, and that's a great lens. But Viltrox equally so nice.
Yeah, that focal length is like, I need to figure out a way to incorporate it into my workflow a little bit more somehow.
Yeah. For portraits, it's really nice. You just have to.
Right, exactly.
It has to be a specific time to use one because it is very close.
I feel like portrait, it's like right above the 85, especially with bokeh and compression, but it's also a kind of extreme compression. Yeah. In a beautiful way.
Yeah.
Like the separation and the isolation from the background is like immediate.
Yeah.
But I want to figure out a way to capture like wildlife photography with it somehow. I'm always trying to bring it back to wildlife.
Yeah, it's pretty close, 135.
It would have to be pretty close, but I don't know. At 1.8, it'd be kind of nice.
Yeah, I'm sure it would, but if it's a bear,
it's not going to be a bear.
Yeah.
Maybe like a great egret or something, like a bird or something.
A bird, fine.
No bears.
Yeah. But do we have anything else that?
And with that,
the
2024 camera roundup comes to an end.
Wow. Last question though. Your favorite lens, your favorite camera and lens separately of the year. You can be bored.
Does the lens have to have come out this year?
Yes.
Okay.
So the camera roundup of the 2020s, 2024.
Then I'm definitely gonna say the A1 and the 500 5.6 from Sigma. Nice.
I would say that for me, the Hasselblad camera, the CFV 100C, and it's close. It's between the 28-105 Sigma and 28. It's got to be the 28-70 G Master from Sony because it's manufactured by wizards. Like there's no way that should exist how it exists. It's smaller and lighter than I thought it was going to be, and it's so sharp.
That was actually a really good answer. I probably would say the same. But let us know in the comments down below, what was your favorite camera lens release of this year? We would love to hear from you. And let us know what you think of this format where we're kind of sitting here and talking to each other a little bit about some of the most exciting camera announcements.
Because we would love to ramble more about camera gear. It's all we do in our spare time, so we might as well do it on camera for you guys anyway. But in the meantime, I've been Matt.
I'm also Matt.
And thanks for watching.